Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 2 of A Real Trucker Plays American Trucking Simulator. I am a truck driver in real life, and there was something I forgot to mention in the first video that I want to mention right off the bat in here, is the frequency of these episodes. I will do my best to get them out maybe every couple of days or every 4 days or so, as much as I can. The only time that I can really kind of record this is when I'm home. Like I said, I'm on the road truck driver, and I'm usually gone for a month or 2 at a time. So I will do my best to get these episodes out as quickly as I can. Sometimes there might be little gaps in between, but I don't plan on giving up the series anytime soon. So just stay tuned. If you want to know when those videos come out, hit that little bell icon after you subscribe and leave a comment saying you want more of this kind of stuff. It helps me make more of these videos if you guys want. If there's any questions or anything, feel free to ask. I'm pretty open and honest, and I answer most questions that I can. Anyway, we're back at episode 2 here. Showed you in the first episode kind of what our rundown is and everything like that, of our settings and stuff like that we're going to use. We currently have a job. This is the first job that they give you. My dispatcher has called me and said that I have to take these empty pallets from wherever I'm picking it up here into Vegas to wherever I'm dropping it off. I have 5 hours and 10 minutes to do it. Yeah, I'll get that done pretty quick. Considering traffic and everything. Job income, $412. This is not accurate. I understand it from a gameplay perspective. They don't want you grinding like you do in real life, but trucking is a grind. In real life, trucking is a grind. You're gone for months at a time. Some companies require you to be out for 2 weeks before you get 2 days home time. Some require 4 weeks before you get 2 days home time. I'm an owner-operator. I own my own equipment. I own my own company. I can set my own hours and run my own time. But if I am sitting at home like I am now, I'm not making any money. To get ahead in this game, you got to make money. You got to earn money. So that being said, we're going to head out on the road here and see what we're dealing with. Okay, we're in our truck. Looks like a Volvo, I believe. Yeah, looks like a Volvo. We're sitting at a dock. The shipper has come out and given us our paperwork saying these empty pallets. It's a little thing called a bill of lading, and they say that there's empty pallets that we're taking it to, I guess, wherever they need to have taken. So we're gonna first of all set our truck and trailer brakes. I don't know why they don't default set, but yeah. That is what it is. We have to set those. I don't want the truck rolling on us or anything like that. We're doing what's called slip seating. At least this is the closest thing that I could think of would be what they're trying to portray here in American Trucking Simulator. Slip seating, where here, I'm going to pause the game real quick. So slip seating is where the company has a bunch of trucks, but the drivers aren't assigned to a truck. Some companies, you get assigned to a truck. Other companies, you don't. You do what's called slip seating, and that means if they have a truck available, you get in whatever truck it is for that day. That's your truck for that day. You turn it in at the night, turn in your keys, and you go home. Most of the slip seating jobs are local drivers. That's where like a radius of about 150 miles or so from your home terminal. Most of them, the people that do slip seating and stuff like that, are locals. But there are slip seating big companies that have a lot of trucks. They have slip seating drivers that do slip seat all the time. So we are slip seating, and we're going to take this load to where it needs to be delivered. So first thing I have to do is I have to monitor my time here. It's Monday at 10 a.m., 10:03 a.m., and I need to keep this in track for my logs, okay? So I'm going to make a notation on a little scrap piece of paper here that I'm going to begin my day at, I'm going to say 10 o'clock. I know it's 10:03, but when you look at the logs, they're in 15-minute intervals, and you have to log to the nearest 15 of whatever it is you're doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this is when I'm going to come on duty, because this is when I'm going to start what's called my pre-trip. So I'm going to mark this time down really quickly. Give me a second. Okay, this is when I'm starting my pre-trip. So now, here's what we're going to do. We are going to look over our trailer. We're going to make sure we're going to do what's called a pre-trip. And we have to do this pre-trip every time before we start driving for the day, and we have to do what's called a post-trip at the end of our shift. Now the DOT, just to let you know, the DOT is the Department of Transportation. They are the big dogs on the street. We have to follow their regulations, their rules, and what they say goes. So they say that you have to log a pre-trip or a post-trip on your logbook to make it legal. Some companies that I've been with require you to do at least 15 minutes of a pre-trip. The company that I lease to right now currently requires it to be logging the post-trip, which is the very end of the day. You have to log your on-duty time at the end of the day before you can go off-duty or into the sleeper berth. So we're going to assume this company is a pre-trip company, and they want us to log our pre-trip first. What we're going to be doing, we're going to be doing a pre-trip inspection of the vehicle, and we're going to be doing the same thing as what we were to do on a post-trip, except we don't. You just have to flag that you did one on a post-trip or a pre-trip, whichever other one that you're doing, but you don't have to show any time for it. You can if you want, but you only have 70 hours in the week to work. So any kind of on-duty time that eats into that 70 hours. That's less time that you have to work. So you kind of want to manage your time, and you want to be smart about what you do. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to come. I'm going to unpause. We're going to go outside view of the truck, and we're going to look it over since I can't walk out of the truck. There's over 200 things that we have to do that's on a pre-trip. I'm not going to list every single thing. I mean, I guess if you guys want a video about it, I will try to list as many as that I can remember off the top of my head. But for the most part, you're just seeing to make sure that the vehicle is trip worthy. You're going to check all your tires. You're going to look behind in the back here and check your brakes. You got to make sure that they have enough brake padding on them. You got to make sure that the tires are not frayed. It's not wearing on one side. You take your hand, you run it across the tire. You go around, you look sure, make sure nothing's going to fall off the trailer. You want to swing around here. You want to make sure that your air lines are hooked up. A good thing to do is to push your trailer brake in on the trailer and leave the truck off. Push your trailer brake in and listen to see if you can hear any kind of leaking, any kind of air leaking up here, any kind of air leaking back here. You don't want to hear any air leaks. Air leaks are a bad sign. You don't want to drive if you have an air leak. You want to come around here. You want to make sure your license plate is nice and secure. You're going to open up the hood. You're going to look at the engine. You're going to check your oil. You're going to make sure there's no leaking. You're going to look underneath the truck. You're going to make sure there's nothing leaking underneath the truck. Sometimes it's kind of confusing because if you have it's really hot, like here in Las Vegas. The air conditioner sometimes will release condensation onto the ground, and that can look like a leak. So you have to make sure that that's all that is just the condensation from the air conditioning. You have one for the in cab, and then most trucks, not all, but most have it for the sleeper berth as well. So you'll see two little puddles on the ground. You want to make sure that's water, that's not any kind of fluid or anything like that that's leaking onto the ground. You want to make sure that your coolant is topped off, especially if you have a really, really heavy load. I mean, really, you want to do it every time just to make sure there. But yeah, especially if you have a really heavy trailer, because it's gonna be hot underneath that engine. So we're gonna turn on our lights. We're gonna turn on our flasher four-ways. We want to make sure they're all working. We're gonna go ahead and turn on the full lights. We're gonna make sure that both of the headlights are on and that are working. The DOT, again, remember, big dog on the road. The DOT says that if the light is affixed to the truck, it has to be functional, which means it turns on and off, and cannot be there just cosmetically to look like a light. It actually has to work. You can have as many lights as you want, but it actually has to work. And what you want to do is you want to make sure all of the lights down the side of the trailer, whoops, wrong button, sorry. You want to look down on the side of the trailer. There, sometimes they'll have. This is a little pup trailer. It looks like a little maybe 24-footer or something like that. And a lot of times they have lights on the side here, but they don't always. DOT says you have to have at least 50% of your trailer. This is DOT reflective tape. You have to have 50% of the side of the trailer on each side has to have this reflective tape. But on the back of the trailer, 100% has to be covered in the DOT tape. And I will show you that when I pull forward. You want to check your marker lights up here, your indicator lights, to make sure they're all working. You want to, like I said, walk down this side of everything you do on that side of the trailer, you have to do on this side. You want to make sure all these little individual lights are working. My previous Volvo that I had a real bad problem of this window right here popping out while I was driving down the road. So I always want to make sure that's there. Not so much anymore of the newer models, but if you got an older model Volvo, you know what I'm talking about. So after that, we're going to go back in the back of the trailer and we're going to look. We can't really see the back of the trailer, so we got to pull it forward just a little bit. We've already given the okay from the shipper that nobody's in the back of the trailer, that they're all gone from the back of the trailer. We've gotten out of our cab. We've done a little bit of a pre-trip while it's sitting here. We've also went back here in the dock and looked back here to make sure that this door is closed and there's nobody in our trailer. This happens to be, I'm assuming it's because I can't see a door here. Either it's a roll-up door in the back or the doors have already been closed prior to when we have shown up. But this is very important. People die because there's people that don't come back here and they make sure this door is rolled up and there's somebody in the back of the trailer, and as soon as they start moving forward, that person falls out and bad things happen, especially if you're in a forklift. It's happened multiple times before. So we're going to get in our engine. We're going to get back into our cab. We're going to start our engine, and we're going to pull forward a little bit because we have to make sure these backlights, we can't see it from where we're at, so we got to make sure these backlights are nice and working. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Hang on just a second. Some of these are backwards. My clutch and everything got changed backwards. So I'm going to edit that out of here, and I'm going to change that. So I will see you when we're back in the cab. Okay, I think I got that fixed. They always start back. I don't know why, but when I started the other profile just to kind of play around, make sure that I knew what I was doing before I did this, they were the same way, and I don't know how it reverted or went back to it, but I think I got them fixed. So let's, like I said, we're going to start the engine. We're going to pull it forward. We're going to check them back brakes to make sure everything is good. And then we have to do an air test before we leave, and I'll show you how to do that. So let's do that. Okay, we're going to go back to the back of the trailer, and we're going to check out the back lights here. These are our brake lights. These are our indicator lights. Remember what I said about the DOT tape has to be across 100%? That's what we're looking for right there. Another thing we're also looking for is these doors. We're making sure all of these hinges are properly secured on to their trailer. I've had them where they've been broken right here, and that's hard to tell, but you can see that. That's a dangerous thing. These doors are meant to have all of these on there. They have a little bit of a redundancy, but if two of them breaks, that's a bad thing. A wind could catch that and rip that door right off. This trailer is not sealed. There's no seal on this trailer. You can see back here the doors. There's no seal right here on the trailer that I can see. I don't think the game models seals, but if this was the case, I would walk back here and put a lock on here. I know it's just a thing of empty pallets, but I still don't want anybody back here in this trailer. If I happen to stop at a truck stop or something, I go in and get something to eat, I don't want anybody climbing back here in the back of the trailer for any reason. You know, if I come back out and I don't check that, I happen to check that before I start driving, there's somebody in there that could get really, really hurt, and we don't want that. So I would just walk out here and I place a little lock right here. I would place a seal if I have my own personal seal. If it was really like, if it was some kind of product or anything like that with pallets, it's not really a big deal. But if there was any kind of product and the shipper didn't have a seal, I always carry seals. They're required to have carry seals, but sometimes they just don't. You'll find that some of the things that the DOT says are mandatory are it's not practical sometimes, and shippers run out of that stuff. Sometimes they run out of seals, especially some smaller shippers and stuff. They're not prepared for the amount of stuff that they have. They run out of seals, and they don't have them. So I always carry a few extra on there. You can write on a bill of lading. I don't know who has this affinity. People tell drivers all the time they can't write on bill of ladings. That's not true. You can write things on bill of ladings. Some shippers will take things written on, some won't, but DOT says you can write it on there. So I would come back here. I'm going to put a lock. Now I got to test my brake lights. I got to make sure they work. I'm a team driver. What that means is I have an additional person in the truck with me that takes over when I'm asleep, and then I drive when they're asleep. I team drive with my brother, and it's easier with somebody else because they can hold down the brake while you're back there checking your lights and stuff like that, and you can be able to see it. Solo, it's a little hard, and the way I'm going to run this series is if I am solo, so I don't have a team driver or anything like that. So solo, you can put something on the brake to kind of hold it down. I'm using a game mechanic here since I'm technically still in the cab, but I can look at the back of the trailer. I'm just going to hold my foot on the brake, but in real life, you could put something on the brake to kind of hold it down to make sure that you can check these lights to make sure that they work. So we're going to do that. Yep, they come on. They're working. Our blinkers are working. Our indicators left, right. And that's it. Once we've done our pre-trip, the truck is on. I'm letting it build up air pressure to do a brake test. So you can see right here, these are my primary air and my secondary air. And what that indicates is the level of pressure that it's in. And I want to make sure that I monitor these two, especially while I'm driving, because if it gets low or anything, as it gets lower, see, the air brakes are forced open by air. And so if there's no air, the brakes close and they lock. And that's a safety feature. It's a fail-safe. When it fails safe. So we want to monitor this, make sure we have plenty of air in here, because if it ever gets low and we're out on the road, we need to be stopped over on the side of the road immediately, because those brakes will lock up, and once they lock up, you ain't going anywhere. So, okay, so we checked it, everything else. The final thing that we have left to do is a brake test, a brake pressure test. So we're going to make sure that it's a little hard to see, but our air is primed as much as it can go, and we're going to turn off our blinkers because that's annoying. We're going to turn off the truck, and then what we're going to do is we're going to turn back on the truck, just to not all the way. We're not going to turn the engine over. We're going to brake it here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold my foot on the brake. My foot is on the brake right now. It's kind of hard to see, but if you look right here, the steering wheel is in the way, but back here, this is an air pressure indicator. This indicates how much pressure you're actually putting on the brake, how much air pressure you're giving to the brakes. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get that as pretty high as I can, and I'm going to hold it there. And when I hold it there, I'm going to wait a couple of minutes. In the real world, I would wait a couple of minutes, and I'm watching this pressure gauge to make sure it's not going down, because if it's going down, I have an air leak, and I have a problem. So I'm holding the pressure onto the brakes to make sure that these air lines aren't going down. So we're going to do that. We're going to hold it, and we're just going to watch that air pressure gauge. I guess it would be better if I release the brakes. You can do it without the brakes released, but it's a better idea to do it when you have the brakes when you have the brake lines pushed in, because you can damage the drums back there. So the brake cylinders. Okay, so we're watching that air pressure, and I don't see it moving. That's a good sign. So yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull back in our brakes. We're going to let our foot off the brake. And now we have to do a pump down test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rapidly pump the brakes. You can hear them braking. And what we want to get to is see that red light coming on? Now normally there's an audible sound. It's a really, really loud sound. I don't think the game models it or anything like that. So normally what we would do is we would have our cabin red line. That red line's for the cab. The other one's for the trailer. The yellow line is for the trailer. I'm talking about these two things right here. Normally we'd have our cab in. because what we want to hear, I will try to do it. Let's see, push that in. What we want to hear is when we run out of air completely, we want to hear those two break, those two pop back out. See if the game models that. Okay, I'm out of air right now, and those two didn't pop back out. They should have. I don't think the game models that. But in real life, if that gets down to a certain level, these will pop automatically. And when they pop automatically, then you're good. That's intended to happen. That's what it's supposed to do. Once you get low enough, the light's supposed to come on. It's supposed to give an audible warning. Then when you get all the way down here, all the way to the bottom, that's when it pops. Excuse me, I have to cough. Okay, so now what we're doing is after we've completed that, we're going to turn on the truck, we're going to build up our air pressure, and then we're going to get going. See, that's the audible sound. That's what I was talking about, that audible sound. Normally that will happen when your electricity is on the truck, but for some reason it didn't do that. Okay, we're back. Yeah, I was just going up really slowly. In real life, that's not really what happens. If I was a truck driver and my air did that, I got a problem with my compressor, and I'm getting it into the shop immediately and checking that out. That should be a lot faster than that. But game is game. So what we're doing is we're just waiting for it to come back up to full pressure. I'm looking and paying attention to my time here. It is 10:23 a.m. So I'm going to log on my time that we did a pre-trip from 10 to 10:30, and then we're going to be getting out of here. Now the rules on the logbook are a little different than the rules in real life. I'm sorry. The rules on the logbook are different from local drivers than they are drivers that are what are considered on the road drivers. Okay, local drivers, they're on a different kind of time schedule. It's like 80 hours in 8 days or something like that. But for a regular driver like myself on the road, then the way I'm going to be logging on here, it's 70 hours in 7 days period. When I start my shift, I have 14 hours to complete my shift and go off duty, or 14 hours that I could drive during that drive time. So since I started at 10 a.m., I would have until 12 midnight to be able to use my driving time. Now, as for driving time, I have 11 hours within that 14 hours that I could drive. So let's say I started at 10:30, I can drive for 10 hours, and then I would have to 11 hours, and then I would have to end my time. I can't go over that time frame. But you have 14 hours to do that. So if you need to take a break, or if you're at a shipper, etc., then that's that you have that 14 hours. Now, just a few years ago, they changed the law and said that after 8 hours of driving, you have to take a 30-minute break. So I want to keep in mind that if I'm driving straight from 10:30, at 6:30, I have to stop and take a break. By 6:30, I have to stop and take a 30-minute break, and then I have my remaining time, whatever time that is left over, that I can drive. So we're going to keep that in mind, and we're going to get going here. Air pressure's coming back up to normal. I'm going to go ahead and put it into gear, and we'll get on out of here. By the way, I sometimes forget to put in my brakes all the time, so that's a normal thing. Or I'll try to take off, and I'm like, why aren't I going anywhere? And it's because my brakes are still in place. So while we're in the shipper, we're just going to kind of go slow. We're watching out for people crossing, stuff like that. We're just taking it easy, taking slow. I'm gonna look around the corner here and make sure there's nobody. I'm watching the rear of my trailer to make sure that I don't hit those poles that I saw. You know, when you're in a store and you have these back areas, you really got to watch out for these doors, like that door right there on the side and that door right there. Because people come out of there all the time. Now, some of the places you have to talk into, you have to check in and out of security, and they're normally like right there. It's probably a security guard right there. But let's just say the shipper told them, we're coming, we're heading out, and we're going to be getting on the road. Here we go. There's a stop sign. Now, sometimes stop signs on private property, they're not technically really stop signs, but just stop anyway. But you never know how many times I've left a shipper and they've had an issue where you know, the security guy's coming running out trying to tell me something's going on, you know, they forgot something or whatever. So just always stop, look in your rearview mirrors, make sure there's nobody coming and going. Try and do this with one hand. We're gonna get up the stop sign, we're gonna make a right-hand turn. And we're looking out for cars. We're just gonna take it slow here. Okay, I'm looking in my rearview mirror to make sure I don't hit any curbs or anything. You'll notice on my tachometer here, hang on, I'll show you the tachometer. You'll notice here on the tachometer right here, there's a little green zone. You want to try to shift kind of when it's in that green zone. Sometimes when you're going uphill, though, you kind of want to leave it a little bit more, because remember what I was saying in the first video about your RPMs and your road speed and your gear. Yeah, you got to watch that when you're doing it. So coming up to a light. Normally lights will have both turn lanes, especially on something like this, but I'm gonna have to get over in this lane. But I'm just looking ahead. I'm making sure, you know, looking to see people going through here. This fabulous Las Vegas right here in the back store. This is the Luxor right here. Nice. So yeah, we're gonna get back on it. Always want to maintain your lane when you turn. Maintain your lane position. And it's okay to go slow. I know some people get really upset with truck drivers going slow. It's okay to go slow. Just take your time. There's nothing that you need to worry about. You also notice I'm not using my high-low gears. Sometimes on these lighter loads, you don't need to switch to high-lows. You just keep switching up and just keep going. It's fine to stay in the low gear or the high gear. It's not a problem if you do that. Sometimes on the heavier loads, you need to use those little high-low gears. But if you'll notice when I'm changing, when I'm shifting here, I'm just staying in the low gear. Watching my speed, especially because there's a local cop right there. Las Vegas Metro Police Department. So now, I see this problem here on my left-hand side. It's a road cleaner. There's a guy behind him. You would be surprised how many times like that red car would just zoom right in front of me to try to get around the cleaner. So you just got to watch things like that. I'm going to get over and make my turn up here. I gotta make this turn up here. So that's why I got in this lane, because I know that guy would have tried to zoom around me like he's doing now. So sometimes you just got to go in the lane. Especially because I knew I was going to have to make this turn coming up here. Okay, looks like I got to get in here. I got to sometimes talk to the security guard first. So let's just say we get out of the... You never really want to pull on the property. Sometimes they'll tell you to pull on the property and stuff, but it's okay just to pop the brakes right here, get out, go talk to the security guy. Say, hey, I'm here to deliver, blah, 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 blah. So security guy's already called down to this is called the consignee, the person we're dropping it off to. And they said, just go ahead and park it on the side over there anywhere you find. So that's what we're going to do. I'm not going to skip the trailer parking. We're going to do that. Or what I said about going slow. It's always better just to go slow. There's no need to rush through this kind of stuff. Okay, this is where they want it. So we're going to pop that. We're going to bring it into neutral here. We're going to get out. We're going to do a little bit of a walk around to make sure that we're not dropping a problem to somebody else. I can't tell you how many times I've come back here and checked tires and they were flat. And the other driver, when they're contacted, they go, "Oh, I don't know anything about it." Well, yeah, it's kind of hard not to notice whether there's a big tear on the side of the truck. You also want to make sure the brakes are still good and that everything is still working, because anything could happen out there on the road, and you don't want to drop a problem for another driver. Just get the problem taken care of. It's not going to be much. Normally you carry spare lights and stuff like that, so if any of these lights down here are an issue, just change them out. Just pop the light out, screwdriver, get in there. You want to make sure these mud flaps, I don't know how many times I've had them ripped off on the road. You drop it without the mustache, let your dispatcher, mud flaps, you just let your dispatcher know. Say, hey, I got a mud flap tore off there. Somebody's going to need to fix that before they take it out. Most of the time they'll say, okay, drive on down the road. Being a team driver and on the road driver, normally they have local people that'll come out and handle this kind of stuff. And if not, it's your responsibility. While when you drop the trailer, just run out to a parts store and grab a mud flap and come back and fix it yourself. But we walked around the trailer. We made sure everything was okay. We're marking our time down here. Remember, we got to keep track of this time. So we're going to make sure that we're going to put. Remember, it's to the 15 minutes. So we're going to put 11 o'clock. So we drove from 10:30 to 11. So that's 30 minutes of driving. So I'm going to mark that down right now. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get out, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set these are called landing gear. There's a little crank here. You just got to crank them down. We're going to set them down. You don't want to set them down all the way on the ground. You want to leave about an inch or so, maybe half an inch on the ground, because you want to be able to hook. When you hook up, you got to kind of bump back into the trailer and it'll pick up on the truck. If you do it too high, the person can't do that, and then they have to come out here and lower them. And then sometimes, but if you drop it too low, then they have to raise them. And sometimes, if the trailer's really heavy, you're not getting it raised. I don't care how strong you are. You're just not going to be able to do it. It's just the trailer's too heavy. So you want to just make sure you leave a little bit of a gap underneath there when you're dropping these trailers. You want to go behind a button. You want to go behind here, and you want to make sure that these are going to be disconnected. And a lot of times, there's a little hanger right here. You just put them up there, you hang them out, and we're going to do that, completing this load. See, we took those off. See the little crank right there, and that's it. All right, and we gained a little bit of experience here. That's awesome. 7 miles took me 30 minutes to do 7 miles. Yeah. Depending on traffic, that's probably pretty accurate, but This is definitely not accurate. We get paid per mile. There's a couple of ways you get paid as a truck driver. Most company drivers, like kind of what they're portraying here, like a slipstream driver, would make mileage. Normally, for brevity's sake, I'm going to say 50 cents a mile. That's kind of on the higher side. I think when I first started, I got 34 cents a mile, and that was because I was a team driver. It was 34 cents on both of our miles that we got to split. So yeah, you guys can do the math. But even if we do 50 cents, we made a whole $3 on this trip. So there you go, below minimum wage. So we're gonna hit continue here, and we're gonna see what happens. I think this is when the garage opens up, so we're gonna let it do that. I do not have a garage. You don't have to have a garage to have a trucking company. You can start one literally just out of your house, which is what I did. We're just going to skip through all that. Okay. Now we're going to call the dispatcher, tell them we're ready for another load here. We're going to go to the job market. Of course, this is, like I said, you're not really getting hired as a driver. You're more contracting, like slip seating work. But let's just say we work for a big company, and that's all they do is slip seating. So we're going to go in here, see what other kind of jobs they have. So you'll see down here $20 a mile, $24 a mile. This is not realistic at all. And this is what I was talking about in that first. If you guys want me to switch to that realism mod kind of thing, I can do that for you. It's a little bit more of a grind. So if you guys really want to see that more grindy aspect of this kind of things, I will do that for you. But what we're looking at here is we're just looking at maybe something short. Cedar City, that's not too far. That'll take us up into Utah. Let's see, Monday at 8:20 p.m. 171. Trip time 3 miles. We should be able to do this one and get this one done. So it looks like a day cab. This is called a day cab when they don't have a sleep. This is called a sleeper berth in the back part of it's where you sleep and stuff. If they don't have it like this looks like a Peterbilt. Yeah, it's a Peterbilt day cab. So these are what these local drivers drive around. You'll see them all over. See if we can find any other standard delivery. Yeah. So it looks like we'll take. Well, what's this one down here? That's 30,000. Now we got to watch our weights as well. Legally, we can't be over 80,000 pounds gross vehicle weight. That's everything combined, 80,000 pounds. They don't model it in this game, but you can be 12,000 pounds on your steer tires. These are the steer tires up front. You could be 34,000 right here on these tires, and 34,000 on the trailer tires, which would be back here. That equals up to 80,000 pounds. On my truck, I had it built with a little bit heavier of a front end, so I can go up to 13.5 on the front, and a little bit more weight on these tires right here. I try to keep them at 34 and the rear at 34, but even that, I cannot go over 80,000. Now, you can get a permit. Some of these, let's see if there's a heavier one here. It doesn't look like it. But some of the heavier weight, like this one right here, this one's really heavy. It's in a day cab though. He should be able to take this just fine. 40,000 pounds. 40,000 pounds is about the max weight that I can carry. I would be pushing it to go to about 42. But we're gonna take this load right here. Oh, wait. This load right here. We're gonna get up there again. This is unrealistic, but we're gonna go with it for now. Just so, like I said, the game's not grindy. I will install that mod or activate that mod if you guys want to. If you guys want to see that, just let me know in the comments. So we're gonna take this one. It's expected about 3 hours. Usually, how I calculate times when I tell people where I'm gonna be and stuff like that is I do 50 miles an hour. That's not how fast I go, but that's how fast I calculate it. So this one would take, I would say, would be about 3 hours when I calculate it to somebody. I would tell them about 3.5 hours is what I would tell them. I'll be there in about 3.5 hours for 171 miles. That just encompasses everything. I always like to be earlier than later. And when you're talking to shippers and stuff like that, sometimes this matters. If we look at our time right here, it's almost 11, 3 hours, 11, 12, 1, 2, this will be 2:30 by the time we get there. Some places close early, Most places are usually open till about 5, but this is important because sometimes if you're over that time, you won't get offloaded. So this is something we have to pay attention to. Okay, but I'm gonna go ahead and accept this one, and we'll get on the road. Okay, here we are. We're gonna look and see that day cabber. Okay, this looks like a one that's got a side skirt. This is what I'm seeing up here. What these trailers can like kind of slide back and forth. It's like a flatbed, but it's got a little skirt right here. Sometimes you'll see those. We're gonna say we went ahead and did a pre-trip and everything was fine, and we're gonna get on going. You can tell back here, there's trailer tires. There's 3 of them back here. So this trailer is generally done for heavier vehicles. Sorry about that. The road dog's barking in the background. Okay, now I'm going to go in here in the map, and we're going to get a little bit closer because I know there's a scale right here, right? Let's see if they have it. I don't think that's a DOT scale. Let's see. How'd they model the DOT scales? Oh, I guess that's how they modeled them. Okay. So I know from just driving my own time that there's a DOT scale right up in here. It's not on the Arizona side. It's actually on the Utah side when you get up into Utah.